Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Drafted Up podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter at @DraftedUp_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review, follow, all that good stuff over on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, word of mouth, tell a friend. This week, essentially, we're just one episode this week. We got a busy week. Big day Thursday, which is a record day, and it's tough to record on a Friday. So we're going to skip the recap of week 5, and we're just going to give you guys a preview for week 6 here for the National Football League. I'm Theo. That's Nick. How you doing, dude?
Doing good. Go a little behind our personal lives here. I'm really excited for Thursday. We got a double showing of Terrifier 2 and then the new release Terrifier 3. Huge movie buff, especially horror movies. So 'tis the season for Halloween movies, horror movies. I'm super excited for Thursday. Really excited for week 6 to start. Week 5 was crazy, dude.
Yeah, it feels like we're in the swing of it here in the National Football League, and preseason's over, essentially. Offenses are picking up. I was good until 4 seconds into the intro, and the Mets hit a homer.
Oh, damn, dude. 2 years off to a rough start.
Fuck the Mets.
I would take a quick second to shout out my 2 home fantasy leagues, being our Ziffle League and our main Dynasty League. I'm currently sitting at 4-1 in both. First place in Ziffle, second place in Dynasty League. So, man, it's good to be king, baby boy. Good to be fucking king.
I am the highest scoring team in Ziffle, so I'll take that as a dub. It was a tough loss this week. I was the 3rd highest scoring team, and I took the L. We got to get a median scoring going. If you can fight for median scoring in your fantasy leagues, go for it.
In our Dynasty
League, not so much.
I played the second highest scoring team, and I got the dub. I was the highest scoring team on the week. I had 300 some points. My Dynasty team went the hell off this week, dude. And Chuck, dude, he was right there behind me, dude. It came down to Monday night. He lost by 8 points. Him and I were texting a little bit back and forth. It was a good ride. I walked into work today, and it was all nice. Oh, fuck you. And I was like, yeah, you eat that up, bitch. I beat you, homie. But, yeah, man, it's good to be king, baby. Brother.
Yeah, shout out Robbie, or my buddy Robbie, who is undefeated currently in our Dynasty League. Yeah, I traded him Puka Nacua right before the season started, and hasn't gone out in his favor. But hey, 5-0, he'll take it. I'm here 2-3. Still got one of the highest scoring teams. It just seems to be the case this week. It was also the case in my money league. I was the 3rd highest scoring team. I lost 177 to 173.
Damn.
Oh my God, the Mets might have hit another homer.
You're defending champ in our Dynasty League?
Yeah, I finally won, and then now off to a bad start, 2-3.
Yeah. We got the two champs here for our home leagues. I won Ziffle, you won our Dynasty League, though. So representing pretty well.
Yep. Before we dive into week 6, I was actually reading the spreads for some of the games. Before we dive into week 6, starts of the week, we'll start off at quarterback. Okay. I'll let you go first because mine is disgusting.
Oh, yeah, dude, I seen it right when I sat down. I'm like, oh, hot take, dog. My QB is, I think he was QB1 last week, to be honest. It's Kirk Cousins. He had a huge week last week, and then he got Carolina. Huge, easy matchup this week. Was he QB2?
Joe Burrow. He might have been QB3, Lamar.
That makes sense.
Burrow, but still, top 5 performance from Kirk.
Yeah, he had like 40-some points, 45. It's a division matchup too, Carolina. And with Dalton in Carolina, I think they're able to fight in games. It didn't happen last week versus Chicago, which was a surprise, but Chicago has a really, really good defense. So, and Atlanta's been clicking, dude. Cousins been playing great. London's been playing great. Kyle Pitts has been playing okay for Kyle Pitts. Bijan is the one that's kind of been stuttering, but that doesn't really affect Kirk's fantasy numbers per se. He had 500 passing yards last week. He's a dog. He's gonna do it. He looks healthy now. So start Kirk Cousins with confidence this week.
How crazy that we're just a few weeks removed from being like, man, Kirk Cousins looked terrible. What's Atlanta doing? And now 50 plus pass attempts. That's obviously not going to happen every week, but Cousins balled out here on Thursday. Last week I went real gross and went with Trevor Lawrence, and it worked out. Trevor Law had a great game for the Jags, so I'm going back to the barrel, and I'm going with Daniel Jones against the Cincinnati Bengals. Look what Lamar just did to that defense. That defense is terrible.
It's
the
horrendous.
Giants, if they're going to want to compete with the Bengals, they're going to have to open up that passing game. Malik Neighbors should be back, which will just make it better for Danny Jones. And Daniel Jones, he's looked pretty good this year, minus, week 1. But hey, Minnesota's made every quarterback look pretty bad this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't look great versus Dallas, but that's a Thursday night game. I'm willing to set Thursday games aside for bad performances. The other 3 games, he's looked good for the Giants. So if you're desperate for a quarterback this week and you really want to get down and dirty, I like Daniel Jones against Cincinnati. I'm giving you the confidence to go out there and put Daniel Jones in your life. Daniel Jones is scoring as many fantasy points per game as Patrick Mahomes. So, hey.
He adds rushing upside, so I like the fantasy output for Danny Jones. And we're playing Cincinnati, whose defense is horrendous. And we looked good versus Seattle. They hung in there, and it was a lot closer than it really should have been. We walked over them. We let them have a couple points here and there. It shouldn't have been that close. I think there's a chance we hang in there with Cincinnati.
Wasn't a touchdown.
Yeah, Eric Gray had the majority of the first drive, and then he fumbled right on the goal line, and Tyrone Tracy took over, and he looked phenomenal, dude. So Eric Gray looked great on the first drive, and then he just happened to fumble on the goal line. So trust was lost.
And who knows if even if it was a fumble. That was a tough one to judge.
That is true. I'm not going to sit here and say it was or wasn't.
My running back start of the week, DeAndre Swift of the Chicago Bears versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, London game. So now I'm putting him in my start of the week. So it's going to be a dud for DeAndre Swift. But Jacksonville, run funnel. Trey Sermon ripped him up, just like every other running back has done this season. So go out there. DeAndre Swift looking like a completely different running back. Like we said at the intro, preseason's over. We're in the thick of it here.
Yep.
Players are starting to look good. They're getting their juice back. And DeAndre Swift the last 2 weeks has been an absolute monster for the Chicago Bears. He has been the monster of the Midway. You can start DeAndre Swift with incredible confidence against a terrible Jacksonville Jaguars defense.
For sure. My start of the week is running back David Montgomery versus Dallas. Easy matchup versus Dallas. They have a really good pass defense, but their run defense is horrendous. They did stop Singletary Thursday night when we played them. But other than that, they've looked pretty rough rushing-wise, and Montgomery's been solid 4 out of 4 games. He had the bye, so he's coming in fresh. Detroit knows how to use both Gibbs and Montgomery perfectly. Montgomery's low in the year in full PPR league is like 17 points. So him versus Dallas is looking like if he gets in the end zone, it's going to be another floor 15, ceiling 25. Throw Montgomery in there for sure as a running back.
I wish every team who used split backs utilized their backs as well as Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in Detroit. I like that one a lot. Who you got at wide receiver?
Wide receiver, I'm going with Houston's own, and he's on my home team, Tank Dell. Dude, I've been huge supporter of Tank Dell all throughout last year, and this year has been a struggle, dude. It's been so hard. It's been killing me, but Nico's out.
Is Tank Dell our first repeat start of the week? Because he was my start of the week
Brock Bowers.
Back when they played Minnesota.
Brock Bowers.
Okay, yeah, and probably Jake Ferguson. Outside of the tight end position, Tank Dell might be our first repeat guy.
I don't know if Chuba happened to get in there 1 week. I know I picked him. I don't know if you ever did.
I don't recall.
Tank Dell like with no Nico, I think I had him and Diggs. I just didn't know which one to pick for my start of the week. I think Diggs is going to have an amazing game too, but I really want to see Tank Dell finally step up, be the receiver we saw last year. You're amazing at separation. You're amazing at catching. You do everything perfectly that a receiver needs to do. Go out there. CJ loves you. Let's see the connection shine, baby. Tank Dell, though. Start of the week.
Tank Dell. I like that.
This might be the first time I picked a receiver that isn't playing Philadelphia, though. So just keep that in mind.
That is true. My start of the week at wide receiver. I forgot for a second. I scrolled through the games to look because I don't have my paper in front of me.
I can give it to you if you need it.
It is Marvin Harrison Jr. of the Arizona Cardinals. Packers, great matchup for the Cardinals. Yeah, my boy, Marv. Last week I went with a fellow rookie, Brian Thomas Jr. It paid off. BTJ, he had a big 85-yard touchdown. I said it. 50-plus yard touchdown for BTJ this week. It happened. 85 yards. Big game for Brian Thomas Jr. So now I'm going to Marvin Harrison. I'm picking the fellow rookie. Marvin Harrison is third on the Cardinals in targets, if you believe that. Michael Wilson is out targeting and out yarding Marvin Harrison Jr. The Cardinals aren't scheming things up for this dude. This guy's a superstar. That's got to change if you're going to want to beat the Green Bay Packers. The Niners did a great job of phasing Marvin out, and the Cardinals still managed to pick up that W. Green Bay, another great defense. Jair Alexander's going to be on them. So you're going to have to get Marv the ball, beat the Packers. They're susceptible in the passing game. Get that going, air it out. I expect a big bounce back week for Marvin Harrison after a pretty poor performance against San Francisco.
Dude, James Conner's looked so good for that team, dude. And he opens up that whole passing game for Kyler, Marv, Trey McBride. James Conner has been amazing this year, dude. Like, it's actually it's really good to watch him shine this well down in Arizona this year. Marv, though, dude, like, they got to start using that guy, dude. Like, they did week 2. They took huge criticism week 1 for not using him. And then week 2, they schemed him in there and it shined. He had like 2 tutties. He looked great at all before halftime. And then it's just been not slow, but slower than that for sure. So you got to get that guy involved. Like, look at what the Giants are doing with Malik Neighbors, dude. Like, his targets, his receptions, his yards are all crazy high. You got to run the offense through him and James Conner out there in Arizona. Trey McBride's a great piece as well. Start using these guys better.
Yeah, Jacksonville's even doing with Brian Thomas Jr. last few weeks. He's getting close to 10 targets a game. You drafted him in the top 5 for a reason. Utilize this guy as a superstar. My start of the week at tight end, I'm piggybacking off your Tank Dell pick. I'm going with Dalton Schultz of the Houston Texans. It does look like Nico Collins is probably going to miss this game. So tons of opportunity in the Houston passing game with Nico out. And Nico's been an absolute superstar. So Dalton Schultz was actually looking really good last week for Houston after Nico went out. I expect that utilization to continue. I think he's a good stream option this week at tight end. I think you could start him with confidence.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. My tight end of the week is definitely not going to have the performance Tucker Kraft did last week when I had him as my tight end of the week. Tucker Kraft went out there and balled, dude. I was really happy to see that. The dude's so talented. I'm piggybacking off your quarterback, Danny Jones, baby. I'm going with rookie tight end Theo Johnson for the New York Giants versus Cincinnati. There's a chance that Cincinnati does what they did last week and Joe Burrow has 5 touchdowns and it's a blowout. There's a chance it happens, and then we're stuck passing, and it's going to be Malik Neighbors all day long and Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson had 5 targets. Wandale will be involved for short stuff, but Theo Johnson had 5 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards per se, 48. That's 10 points almost. And if you add a tutty in there, that's 16 in a blowout. There's like a chance that we're down, we're passing. I'll take 5 for 50 and a touchdown every week from a tight end, brother, this year.
Cincinnati gave up 2 tight end 1 performances last week to Baltimore, neither of which were Mark Andrews. It was
crazy.
Charlie Kohler and Isaiah Likely. So you guys don't utilize the tight end like Baltimore, but you guys are a pretty strict 1 tight end system. It's been Theo Johnson the majority of the season. So I like that. I like that. We get real gritty. That's a Sunday night game, so shine out, New York. Put you guys in the spotlight.
I hope so, dude.
Let's start here though. Our Thursday night game, we got the San Francisco 49ers at Seattle. The Niners are 3.5-point road favorites, over under of 47.5. That's right, guys. Streak's over. We remembered to preview the Thursday night game without doing it on the fly.
Hell yeah.
Last Thursday was a great game. Tampa Bay and Atlanta, big high scoring game. It was great. Made it feel like football was back. And
this is kind of a loophole though, because we're starting with the Thursday night game. We're not doing the reviews first. I think if we would have done the reviews,
don't loophole it. Hey, we got it. It's in the books that we did it without question, without being like, oh shoot, Thursday night football. We didn't forget, but Another great matchup on paper. This should be a good one. Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
their offenses looked great. Defense, not so much. San Francisco, they've just kind of been in limbo this year. It hasn't been great for them. Jordan Mason's looking incredible. Obviously, you're starting him. I like Brock Purdy this week as well. They got to get Debo involved. Debo was hardly involved last week against the Cardinals. Yep. Only had one carry, and I think he had 3 catches. It was abysmal.
He had one catch. He had 3 targets.
Okay, so I had it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, the run game's looking great. Charbonnet, I don't think Charbonnet's a start this week. San Fran's got a really good defense. Ken Walker, you're still starting him though. DK Metcalf is pretty much the lock in your lineup at the receiver. JSN, Tyler Lockett, if you want to play that game, one of them's probably worth a flex start. I'd lean towards JSN. I think Lockett's pretty much just a bench guy, or he should just be kind of sitting on your waiver wires, bouncing around between teams now that bye weeks are rolling around.
Oh, Lockett's had back-to-back games with 11.5. I think he's like a flex guy. He's finishing wide receiver 40 the last 3 weeks, around that range. I think he's flex. I'm cool locking him in there. JSN, no, I'm cool with like a flex wide receiver. He's done a little bit better than Tyler Lockett the last 2 weeks, so I'm cool with those guys throwing him in the back end of the lineup. But Lock, DK, Walker, those guys are locks. What do you think about Geno this week? Here's his finishes on the year. He's been quarterback 7, 21, 8, and 9. He's been a top 12 quarterback for the 5 weeks.
He's been so good. Like, he's almost matchup proof. But
San
Fran, yeah.
It's a green matchup, though, on paper. They struggled
with Kyle. Yeah, they struggled with Kyler. Sam Darnold ripped them up pretty good, too. So, it's plausible. I wouldn't be, like, trying to force him out of my lineup. But if I had a better option, I would lean that way. Yeah, I would start Hurts against Cleveland for sure. I'd probably have him as a low end QB1, maybe like in the 12 to 15 range this week. So, I would start Purdy over him if we look at it from this matchup. I would go Purdy over Geno, but I do like Geno, and if he is your quarterback, say you had Tua, I wouldn't be trying to scour the waiver wire for, say maybe Caleb Williams or Trevor Lawrence or any of those guys. I would just roll with Geno.
I think I would take the opposite approach on Purdy, Geno. Purdy's only been a top 12 QB once this year. Was week 3, finished QB 5. Geno's done it 4 of the 5 weeks. I'll take Geno this week over Purdy.
Okay. How you feel about the Niners receivers? They got Juwan Jennings didn't get much involvement. Like the Arizona game, I would throw the Arizona game out the window. Like I feel that was real, just like a dud game, like just a bad game in San Francisco. I wouldn't look too much into that. Ayuk, finally coming around. He's finally NFL ready at this point. I think we can move on from Juwan Jennings. I wouldn't drop him, but I wouldn't be looking to put him in the lineup at least. Keep him on your bench.
I have a good amount of shares in Juwan this year. I picked him up in a lot of leagues. I would not start him. I didn't start him last week. Thankfully, I got out ahead of his targets coming down a lot. So
yeah, but redemption game, Debo, they need to get him involved. Kittle's a fine start at tight end. Like you're not going to shy away from him.
If Kittle plays, you play Kittle.
Yeah, and then Jordan Mason's been an absolute monster this year.
Lock him in.
Yeah. Who you picking here?
Oh, dude, this is a rough one. Right now I have San Fran locked in, but Seattle, dude, they could bounce back. They had a rough week versus us, but it was the Detroit effect. It's been going around that if you play Detroit, then the week after you just look horrendous, and it showed last week. Seattle started off really slow versus us. Oh, man, give me San Fran.
I'm also going with the 49ers. Sunday's matchups. We got a London game again. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the home team at London. And they're playing the Chicago Bears. The Bears might be the home team. Who's listed at home? DraftKings has the Bears on the bottom, and I think the bottom teams are always the home team. I don't know. That doesn't matter. It's in London.
Was it in San Fran or was it in Seattle?
Seattle's on the bottom.
then it's in Chicago. In Chicago. Quote for quote for our people that aren't watching.
Yeah. Either way, Chicago is 2.5-point favorites here in London. Mm-hmm. So the Bears, Caleb Williams starting to turn it on. He's looking better.
It's obviously going to take time.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it right away. But
I still don't like the play calling in Chicago.
No, it's horrendous.
DeAndre Swift, my start of the week. Jacksonville has been terrible stopping anything. So expect that here again. So I like DeAndre Swift. He might lose out on touchdowns to Roschon Johnson. It seems to be Roschon is the goal line back, but Swift's still remarkable getting down at the one. He was doing it last week.
Dude,
somehow he's magnetized to not cross the goal line.
He had a rushing touchdown back-to-back weeks though, so I'm confident with him getting at least goal line. How do
we feel about the Bears pass catchers? Jacksonville, like I said, terrible defense. Do we have confidence to go in and start DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, or is it still DJ Moore only? Because that's where I am. I'm still on
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore's the only guy I'm starting.
He's a lock. Man. Rome played 80% of snaps versus Carolina, and he had 6 targets, 5 catches, 40 yards. He had 9 points. I think Rome's a decent flex option if you need him to be. Like, he had the targets and he had the catches, to where Keenan Allen only had targets last week. He had 6 targets and he only had 3 catches for 30 yards. So that's only 6 points. I think Rome, I would start over Keenan Allen. But if you need a real deep flex start, you can throw Keenan Allen there. He had 6 targets. Like, he's going to get snaps. They're not going to be pretty, but...
Where would you rank those guys with the Seahawks guys? Not
I would
DK,
rank
but
all
JSN
of them under
and Tyler Lockett.
It would go DK 1, DJ Moore 2, Rome 3, or JSN 3, Rome 4, Lockett 5, Keenan Allen 6. So I pretty much alternate straight through.
I would take JSN and Lockett over Rome and Keenan Allen.
I would take Rome over London. I think he has a better chance of getting in the end zone.
Okay.
I love the matchup with Jacksonville.
Cole Kmet, yeah, he's fine, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Tight ends are getting healthier, like David Njoku's back. I'd be trying to find ways out of Cole Kmet. Jacksonville, Evan Ingram, who knows if he's going to be back.
Yeah, we'll see.
Brent Strange has looked good in Ingram's absence. He's getting touchdowns. So
Evan Ingram is likely to return this week, according to all reports. So whatever happened to him in practice has kept him down.
Warm-ups. I would play bum ass Evan Ingram over Cole Kmet.
If Evan Ingram plays, I would play him. It's the same as Kittle. It's one of those situations where tight ends are being horrendous this year. If Evan Ingram plays, I'm playing him just based on he has a chance of walking out of the game with 12 targets. It's the kind of tight end he is.
Bears defense has been great at stopping the pass, but they've been a run funnel. They've been giving up a ton of running yards. How are we feeling about
both.
Tank, Bigsby, and Travis Etienne? You're starting both?
Both of them.
Tank Bigsby leads the Jacksonville Jaguars in rushing yards. Tank Bigsby
had 2 games in a row. I was going to say he had 90 yards 2 weeks ago. He had 100 yards last week. 2 touchdowns. I'm starting Tank Bigsby.
He's first in the NFL in yards over expectation. This guy looks like a good running back.
Yeah. And his expectation before the season was 0. So any yards over 0 is above average. That's not what that
stat means.
I know.
But Tank Bigsby last year just fell. He had the worst bad luck. Like, anytime he got a target, it turned into an interception. He was constantly just like not holding onto the ball. And this year he looks like a different player. And I'm still confident that like Doug Peterson hates Travis Etienne, and he's like trying to make Tank Bigsby a thing, and it's working right now. Like, Tank Bigsby is incredible. If he's out on your waiver wire, I would dump a ton of fab on that guy. Definitely. Because this is a true split backfield.
Yeah, and he's got really good matchups coming up. He had Indy last week where he had 32 points in our league, full PPR. After that, though, he's got Chicago, New England, Green Bay. Those are all green matchups on paper. And then they got Philly after that. Like, Philly's going to score. So there's a chance that they're just going to use ETN and Bigsby in the run game just to try to slow down the clock, keep Philly off the field, and just brutally run out the clock on Philly. So, and Tanks Bigsby's going to be that running back that they do that over ETN. Like, he's going to be the guy that gets the bullshit carries, as we talk.
He's gonna get the brunt work, and ETN's gonna be heavily involved in the pass game.
Yeah,
like you're still gonna start Travis Etienne. You drafted him to start him. You're not moving him out of your lineup because he's still mostly productive. It's just he's not getting that full workload he got last year, so it is kind of a bummer. But hey, if it keeps him healthy, you're going to be happier in the long run because he's banged up right now. Like he doesn't seem to be able to handle this workload well. But Tank Bigsby, remarkable story. That guy is playing with his pants on fire. How do you feel about the Jaguars pass catchers? Bears really good pass defense.
BTJ, dude. I'll eat my words right now, but his rookie season's been on par with any rookie receiver on the draft class. So I would definitely start him. And Christian Kirk is 3 weeks in a row double digits. I'd start both of those guys. I get the Bears have a really rough pass defense, but these two guys are legitimate NFL receivers. It's different than Carolina last week where do I start Leggett? Like, those guys aren't Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr. They're just not. Both these guys are going to get 10 targets. Christian Kirk only had 4 last week, but he had 4 for 4 catches, 88 yards. So that's a good PPR game. I would start both these guys.
I agree. I would put Kirk in the flex. I have confidence in Brian Thomas as a wide receiver 2 this week. And then who you picking? Jags or the Bears?
Give me the Bears.
I want to pick Jacksonville because it's in London and that's their home territory, even though this is a road game for them. But Chicago's looking hot.
Their defense is
I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in and pick the Bears. Not starting Trevor Lawrence this week, unlike last week where it paid off. I would start Caleb Williams. I'd be willing to put him in. I would put him in the same boat as Geno Smith this week. I think they're low-end QB1s.
Oh, like Geno's been so good this year. I don't know. I think Caleb has a chance to have a really good week because of the matchup with Jacksonville. I think playing in London though is gonna be a whole different thing. Like, he's finally getting his base settled down in like regular games, and now we're flying this guy fucking halfway across the globe to go play football. I think it could easily just rattle him, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's possible. Cleveland Browns are going to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Eagles off a bye. Cleveland had a abysmal performance against the Washington Commanders. The Eagles are 8.5-point home favorites as we record, an over-under of 43.5 points.
Do you think the city of Cleveland could start a lawsuit to get Deshaun Watson benched? Because it's not coaching at this point. It's ownership that is refusing to bench.
I agree,
and it is dog shit for this team. There are 52 other men on this team. Bench fucking Watson. Get him off your team. He's a disgrace he's a disgrace for a football player, dude.
Yeah, at this point, they should be like Denver and just eat that deal and just be like, we're stuck with it. It is what it is. Kevin Stefanski, I just feel deep inside he's just like, I wish he could make a quarterback change.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I was him, I would just fucking do it. Fire me. Go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Fire me. I came out and said I'm starting Jameis Winston, so then you're going to fire me and this guy's going to have to come into this turmoil? That would just blow the franchise up. Like, Kevin Stefanski's a great coach. Deshaun Watson is holding this team back. And like they're banged up. Myles Garrett needs like surgery on both his feet. Like, the dude can barely walk, but he's out here putting his heart and soul out here for this shitty ass organization. Deshaun Watson doesn't want to go for it on 4th down.
4th and 1. When your coach tells you to go for it and you walk off the field and you just look at the coach and go, "Now, what are you doing, dude? It's 4th and 1. There's never been a 4th down that you had to pull Jameis Winston off the sidelines. You tell that guy it's 4th down, go for it. That dude's in that huddle, hyping up the other 12 or 11 men on the field. 10, I don't know. There's 10 guys on the field. So, like, Winston is just horrendous, dude. Like, to walk off the field and not go for it.
Watson's horrendous.
Watson, the 4th down call was egregious, dude. Like, that's the moment. And for him not to get benched after that, that's how you know it's ownership. It's not coaching. This guy would have been pulled 100% out of 100% times. The Browns don't know what they're doing, dude. Ownership is horrendous.
Yeah. get Jameis Winston in there. I'm at the point where I'd love to start Amari Cooper, but I can't trust Deshaun Watson. I think I'm only confidently locking David Njoku into my lineup, and even that, it's a low level of confidence, and that's just because it's a bad position.
Yeah, the position wise is what you got there. I'm still cool putting Cooper in your flex. He got 10 points last week. He's still playing a ton, but
and they are playing the Eagles, who can't stop anybody in the pass game. So,
but there's a chance Jerry Jeudy also has a nice game just based off of it's the Eagles. It's not gonna have to do anything with Watson. It's never gonna have to do with Watson. It's gonna be the matchups that these receivers are playing. Mm-hmm. And if Watson's half decent enough to get these guys 4 catches, that's what it comes down to. The dude's terrible. And he's ruining the Browns.
If I'm Philadelphia, I'm fucking rattling this dude. I'm trying to create a pass rush. I know the Eagles defense has struggled with generating a pass rush this year, but I'm doing whatever I can because the Browns line's banged up. I'm making this dude's life miserable.
Yeah, this is your opportunity to really. You had a bye week last week, Philly, so you had an extra week to prepare for the shittiness of Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns offensive line. He holds the ball so long, so this is a real chance for Philly to get some type of pressure.
Mm-hmm. Jerome Ford.
It's a little bit of karma for moving on from Baker. I'll give him that. This is what you get. You moved on from Baker Mayfield, a perfectly reasonable quarterback. Look what he's doing in Tampa. What are we doing? You had your guy, and you went out there and you got this fucking horrendous human being, a terrible person, a disgrace to the NFL, and now he's just ruined your whole team. Ugh, they paid him so much money, dude.
Yep, and he's a terrible football player on top of it now.
I feel Jerome bad for Ford, Browns fans.
Is he worth starting?
He's flexible.
Yeah,
he had 7 points last week, 15 the week before. He's flexible. He's not start worthy at running back though.
Yeah. Him or Rico Dowdle. Dowdle's got a tough matchup versus Detroit, but he's looked good the last 2 weeks.
Last week, yeah.
Okay.
Big game for Rico last week.
Yeah, I agree that Jerome Ford, he's a low end flex guy, but I think we're both picking Philadelphia. They're tough to read. Maybe AJ Brown's back this week. Devonta Smith should be back.
Both guys should be back.
Dallas Goedert's there. Saquon Barkley should blow up. So should Jalen Hurts. This could be a huge bounce back game for Philadelphia and kind of get them back on track. And if they do lose this game, Nick Sirianni's days are numbered.
Yeah, if Cleveland finds a way to beat Philly, Sirianni enters the hot seat real quick. But every starter for Philly, I'm starting. I'm starting Hurts, I'm starting Barkley, I'm starting Brown and Smith if they both play. They're both on track to play. If Philly didn't have the bye week last week, it looked like Brown would have ended up playing. So I'm starting Brown, I'm starting Smith, and I'm starting Dallas Goedert as well. So
Dallas Goedert or David Njoku?
Goedert.
Okay, I would go Njoku. All right, we're both picking Philly. Eagles are winning this game.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. The fun game of the week. The Washington Commanders travel to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens are 6.5 point favorites at home, an over-under of 52.5 points. I can't believe this game didn't get flexed to Sunday night.
Hey, there's a really good Sunday night game.
They're still rolling with Joe Burrow versus Daniel Jones.
Danny Dimes, baby, give him the Sunday night love. Dude, I'm so excited for this game, dude. I've been preaching Washington all of our offseason podcasts and their coaching staff and Daniels, and it's all put together now. They're 4-1, first place in the division. This is the test. If they come out there and they beat Baltimore, the whole thing's legit. We've seen what it is through 5 weeks, and that's usually what it is for football. If you're this through 5 weeks, it's what you are for the remaining of the season, most of the time. Washington has been nearly perfect on offense. Legitimately nearly perfect. They went 3 games without punting. Daniels has been amazingly accurate. I'm picking Washington just to stay on the boat. I'm driving this ship with Washington, dude. I'm 100% backing them. I think they can go out there and they can get Baltimore this week.
I don't even need them to beat Baltimore.
I agree.
If they hang with Baltimore, if they come out and play
if it comes down to
they
the last drive.
Yeah, like if they look like they belong against a well-run organization, I get the Ravens are 3-2. Like they're a lot better than 3-2. They're an incredible football team. Like
I get
there's
you
zero
are what
reason,
your record is, not with Baltimore.
Yeah, there's zero reason they lost or that they beat Cincinnati because they should have lost that game, but they fought their way back. Like that is a great coach team. Like Harbaugh's incredible there. Lamar,
amazing,
could be an MVP favorite again this year.
Yeah.
Like he's playing incredible, and they're doing this with like Mark Andrews hasn't looked great. Zay Flowers has looked okay. Derrick Henry's had games where he's kind of been irrelevant. Like Lamar Jackson is steering the ship, and like if Washington just hangs with Baltimore, if this is a competitive football game, I'm in on the Commanders. I do think Baltimore wins, but you're obviously starting Lamar Jackson. You're going to start Derrick Henry. How do you feel about Zay Flowers this week? He's you get him in a good matchup, and he's golden. Like he looked great against Cincinnati at over 100 receiving yards.
I would start Zay Flowers this week. It's on paper, green matchup. Washington has a horrendous secondary, and it should be a shootout theoretically. On paper, it's going to look like they're going to score 30 points each. That's the kind of teams they both are this year. I'm cool starting Zay Flowers. I think it really gets to the debate of Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. Even Rashad Bateman comes in a little bit talk. He had 8 targets, 4 catches last week. He finished with almost 16 points. Bateman might be a flex option this week.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman had the same stat line as Mark Andrews, essentially.
He had a tutty, though.
So, yeah, he did end up with touches. So, like, I'm counting out the other tight end, Colmar, whatever his name is.
I agree. Yeah,
I think that was a 1 week thing. Mark Andrews having a half decent week makes it incredibly more frustrating, considering like he's got 2 or 3 duds on the year where he got 2 gooses. This is zeros. So it's just like I'm personally not starting Mark Andrews. If I have another option, I am moving him out just because like it's a trust factor. Like I think there's going to be weeks where he's just not involved in the Ravens offense, just like game script, whatever it may be. So I'm incredibly comfortable with Zay Flowers this week. I like calling your shot on Bateman. I personally wouldn't start him because I think last week was kind of an outlier just because of just them being down so much early. I'm pretty much locking in Lamar, Henry, and Zay for the Ravens. I'm not even going to dabble with Isaiah Likely.
I am almost the opposite. I'm cool with obviously Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers, but I'm also starting Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. I'm comfortable starting both those guys. Mark Andrews had season high last week, 9.5 points. He had 5 targets, 4 catches, 55 yards. If you pull the 4 for 55 and you get a touchdown, because it's Washington. Washington has a bad defense. That's like 16.5 points, and I'm cool with that. Like that's a really good week for a tight end. And Isaiah Likely ended up in the end zone as well last week, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, twice. He had 16.5 points. Again, he only had 3 catches for 13 yards. But it comes down to a touchdown thing. Like I think all of these guys have a really good opportunity to get in the end zone playing Washington.
So would you start either of those guys over, let's say, Tucker Kraft in Green Bay?
Tucker Kraft's almost like a for sure lock at tight end because of what he's been doing the last 2 weeks.
What about Dallas Goedert?
I'd probably go Goddard. He's a little bit safer.
Okay. And David Njoku.
I would go both. I would go Andrews and then Njoku and then Isaiah Likely.
Okay. Washington on their side, you're locking in Jaden Daniels, who's looking like a top 3 quarterback going into next year's fantasy. How do you feel about the running backs? Baltimore pretty good against the run, but Chase Brown looked good. He's got some juice. Zach Moss got banged up in Cincinnati, so I don't think I can comfortably bench Brian Robinson.
He looked he had 2 touchdowns, but he was 7 for 18.
He was hurt. It's going to be. He played. He didn't practice at all last week. He was playing banged up.
I think I would rather start
I took
Eckler.
That. Okay, I'm the opposite. If I'm going to bench one of them, I'd bench Eckler.
See, I think Eckler has a chance to rack in PPR catches versus Baltimore. There's a chance that they just don't run. Like I think Robinson might get in the end zone, but I think this like a 10 for 30 is an option rushing wise. So if he doesn't get into an end zone, I think he has a horrendous day. Where I think Eckler can be fine regardless of a touchdown.
Terry McLaurin, though, lock him in.
Start him. Yep.
I agree. What about Zach Ertz?
Oh, low end desperation play. It's becoming worse and worse.
You'd start both Baltimore guys over him?
I would probably start like 20 tight ends over Zach Ertz at this point, to be honest.
So then we're done with Zach Ertz. He's
essentially.
Yeah. You took Washington in this game, though. I'm going Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So our first split game. Next up, the Houston Texans travel to New England to take on the New England Patriots. The Texans are 7-point favorites, an over-under of 38, and the New England Patriots
doing it, baby,
are starting Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
I fear for this boy's life.
Yeah.
I love Drake May, but I think this is the right move. I get like everybody else says the opposite, but
it has to be done.
This team needs a spark, and you guys know I love Drake May from the draft process. Like, he was my QB2. I think this guy is legitimate. I do wish he was able to sit a little bit longer, because I think that would have been beneficial, but you can only go so long before like things go into an uproar in New England, and they're just fucking like, we're bad. Just fucking put him in. See what we got.
Yeah, I'm surprised Robert Kraft didn't pull the switch faster. To be honest, he's not very patient.
Jacoby Brissett has been horrible. Like, he barely looks. He looks like a Dolphins quarterback. That's not Tua out there.
I mean, I would kill for him in Miami right now, to be honest, though.
I mean, probably. I think long season, if Jalen Polk's out there on your waivers, I'd stash him. Like, you could probably get him for minimal fab at this point. I don't think anyone's jumping to get Jalen Polk, who's got a rookie quarterback now. So, but he almost had a touchdown. I don't know why his touchdown was overturned, that he had to get his full foot down, even though he had his toe down. Like, it didn't make sense. I've never heard that rule before. Like, I don't know if it's because he was going backwards.
Sunday night. I've seen so many people Sunday night and Monday night. Both, it was just toe taps, and I don't understand why they took his touchdown away.
So maybe because he was going backwards?
I don't know. I wasn't watching the play, to be honest. So
yeah, I saw the play.
I heard it was
a clean
dumb.
Touchdown, and then Scotty Redzone said you had to get your heel down. So I could only assume because he was falling backwards, you have to get the foot down first instead of the toe, because usually your toe taps you're going forward. I don't know. Not a rule expert, but I would stash Jalen Polk. God damn it. Fuck the Mets. Ramondre was benched, sort of. They said they were starting Antonio Gibson.
I'm going to quick back to Polk. 2 weeks ago, he played 83% of snaps. Last week, he played 100% of snaps.
100. Yeah.
100%. He was on the field for every offensive snap. He had 7 targets 2 weeks ago, 6 last week. He is becoming the main receiver target-wise in New England. And I think with Drake May, they're both rookies. The rookie connection is always going to be there. So
they're going to try to open up this pass game.
I really like the Jalen Polk stash for sure.
Yeah. Ramondre was benched for Antonio Gibson, and Ramondre played the majority of the snaps. He did not fumble, so congratulations. First game this year. He's no longer on track for a 17 fumble season.
Yeah, it's a little bit less.
I would, if you needed a roster spot, I think you could drop Antonio Gibson. Like if you needed a play this week, I don't want to play him this week. So
I don't want to play him this week, but
I would rather I'd rather roster Tank Bigsby.
Oh,
I'd rather stash Jalen Polk than hang on to Antonio Gibson.
Depends on what you need. I'd rather play Gibson this week than Polk.
Well, I'm not playing. I don't want to play Polk this week, but I'd rather.
But no, I'm saying if you need someone this week. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If I have to play Gibson, I'm in rough shape. I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree, but there's definitely leagues out there. We're in weird 32 team leagues and shit like that.
Yeah. Ramondre's a good start. He's fine. He had a good week this week. If you're real desperate, maybe Hunter Henry, but I'd rather
just
not.
Looking at his stats, he played in 93% of snaps. He had 4 targets. Again, like, it's a matchup thing, but on paper, Houston's a red matchup versus tight end, and we're 5 weeks in, so we know what defenses are at this point. Hunter Henry's a real long shot at this point. I'd rather start Zach Ertz, and we just talked about how I feel about Zach Ertz.
I was gonna say I'd rather start Henry than Zach Ertz, but I don't want to start either of them. No. And that's it from New England. It's pretty much a Ramondre again, just like always, and stash Jalen Polk. Houston, no Nico Collins probably, so Tank Dell and Steph Diggs should see a bump up. I also like Dalton Schultz this week. I would start Schultz over both Baltimore tight ends. Personally, I don't know about you. I didn't ask.
Ugh. Okay, it's rough. I'd have him on. He'd be really close to Mark Andrews.
Okay, and then Joe Mixon probably back. If he's back, he's a lock in your lineup.
Still not determined.
If he's not back, I'm moving on from Cam Akers. If I'm going to start a Houston running back, I'm starting Dare Ogunbowale.
2 weeks in a row where he's got over 14 points. Ogunbowale, he looked good, but Cam Akers again got the touchdown. Like that's the one thing they just keep giving Cam the touchdown. This is dumb at this point.
Ogunbowale got a touchdown 2 weeks ago.
He had a receiving touchdown. Yeah, he didn't have a rushing touchdown, but he did have 15 carries last week, so he is getting more involved. So I would personally make the switch to Ogunbowale, whatever the fuck his name is as well. But Mixon's got to get back out there, dude. Like, what the hell are we doing here, dude? You had an ankle sprain, and then you came back in the game. You got
practiced.
Hurt. And he practiced. And then you practiced the next week,
after,
and then you get back out there, dude.
But he didn't practice at all this week.
Joe.
It didn't make sense. But if Mixon does play, if he suits up, you're locking him in. He's an easy start. There, and then I think Ogunbowale could get some flex cred. But picking Houston. I think Houston does. I think they're going to make Drake May's life kind of miserable. Yeah. But I am actually, this is the first time all year where I'm excited to watch the New England Patriots play football.
Definitely picking Houston, and Diggs and Tank Dell I'm also really confident in with no Nico out there.
Yeah. If Nico does play, does it waver your confidence in him a little bit, or do you think he's just then out there to decoy? Because that's what I think. I think he'd be out there just to decoy if he does play.
Yeah, but that's how you Des Bryant it, and you still end up with 8 catches, 100-some yards, and a touchdown because you're Nico. You're that talented. Even though you're decoying it, you're still better than 90% of the talent out there today. If Nico plays, I really get worried about Tank Dell because I think it's going to be a blowout. Feeding all 3 receivers in a blowout is going to be really hard.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals travel to Lambeau and take on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are 5-point favorites at home, over under of 49.5 points. Cardinals looked great last week against San Francisco. They played great. Kyler Murray, and that's what they needed. They had 2 bad games in a row where they just couldn't get anything going. And Kyler Murray calling touchdown, 43 yards away from the end zone, just throwing his hand up like, I got it.
Yeah.
What a baller move. But we're getting close to Call of Duty season, so it might be time to ship off Kyler Murray if you got him. That's obviously a joke. But I'm starting pretty much any piece of either team in this game. I love Jordan Love against the Cardinals. I think Kyler's a great matchup against Green Bay as well. Marvin Harrison's my start of the week. Trey McBride, I think, is a lock. I would even throw maybe some flex consideration of Michael Wilson if you got, say you got Jefferson on a bye and you need a, guy to slide in. Michael Wilson's second on this team in targets behind Trey McBride.
Yeah, he had 9 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he had 7 and then 6. It is coming down per se, but he's out there for 75-80% of the target or snaps. So I'm cool with Michael Wilson as a flex play. Greg Dortch is pretty much useless at this point, so a lot of it's gone Michael Wilson's way.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, like you though, I'm starting pretty much every piece in this game, being Murray, Love, Connor, Jacobs, the receivers for Green Bay that play, and Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, so Romeo Doubs, this didn't come up on the podcast because it would happen after we recorded, but he just didn't show up for practice. It was just like, he was kind of peeved about involvement in the offense, but like the dude had he ran the most routes on the team. He was second in targets. So I don't know where he's going on about lack of involvement because he's out there all the time, but he should be back this week. Does that make you worried about Dontavian Wicks? Wicks was supposed to have this big game last week and he did not. It was Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft.
He was targeted 7 times and he just kept dropping a ton of passes. And that's been a problem all year. We've seen it early in the season. He does exactly what Tank Dell can do. He is very good at the separation, the speed, the routes that get you open, but he just can't bring it in. He can't do the back end of the job. He can't catch. There's games that he can. Even the game he had 13 targets, he only had 5 catches. That's not a good ratio. And last week he had 7 targets and only 2 catches. I love Wicks, but there are hand problems for sure with him. He's got to go out there and start working on catches. I would start him this week just based off him and Reed are really the only options, even if Romeo Doubs plays. Romeo Doubs gets a ton of targets, but he doesn't get the catches. Like, he had 8 targets the week before, he only had 4. So like he is out there, but he's like their cardio guy. He's their Martez, Valdez, Scantley. He's that kind of the receiver, which is weird because Romeo Doubs is a really good red zone guy. I would much rather him over Christian Watson.
Yeah.
Is Watson playing?
I would say I haven't heard anything, so I assume not. I would say Jaden Reed's the only lock from the receiving crew to start. 100%. But I'm comfortable starting Dobbs or Wicks in the flex. But Jaden Reed's been an absolute monster this year. I think Tucker Kraft's a tight end 1 this season. He's been balling out here the last 2 weeks. And if he does go out there and have a bad game, I wouldn't look too much into that because he's looked good the majority of the year. And then Arizona, James Conner and Green Bay, both running backs, Conner and Jacobs are good plays this week. I think it's going to be a great game.
I agree. On paper, this should be a phenomenal game. Who are you picking?
I'm going to pick the Packers.
I agree. Give me Green Bay, for sure.
Yeah. Next up, the Indianapolis Colts travel to Tennessee to take on the Tennessee Titans. The Colts are 1-point road favorites and over-under of 43. Please let Joe Flacco play.
I couldn't agree more with a statement that was just made.
And I love Anthony Richardson. We differ on him. I more so like him as a prospect. Like, I like him going forward. This year I don't. Like, I was a little higher on him than you, but we both had him I had him, I think, QB 13 in my final rankings. So, like, I had him just outside QB 1. I think you had him a little bit lower than that. I think you had him at 15. So, like, we weren't in on Richardson this year. Like, he's still developmental. He's still a rookie, per se. Like, he hasn't played, let him get healthy. Let him sit this one out.
As an owner of Josh Downs in a ton of leagues, please, for the love of God, just shut Anthony Richardson down for the year for all I care. Joe Flacco.
I wouldn't do that. That's not good.
Like, Joe Flacco runs this offense the way it should be ran. Like, all the receivers are looking great. Even Alex Pierce got involved last week. Like, that seemed like Anthony Richardson's guy, and no one else would use Alex Pierce. But Joe Flacco went out there, got him a touchdown. Josh Downs had a great game. Pittman had a great game. Like, Trey Sermon had a touchdown. He didn't look per se good, but he's Trey Sermon. He's not going to look great. And when Jonathan Taylor comes back, like, Joe Flacco is a very capable quarterback of winning games. I get they didn't win last week, but they were down big and they came back.
He brought him back.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson's not doing that.
No, good God, no. If they were down that big with Anthony Richardson, it would have been horrendously bad all game.
Yeah. It's weird. It's what a wild world that, like, the franchise quarterback comes back and you downgrade all the weapons. But that's just how it's been. Like, I was going to say let Richardson rest till the bye week, but the Colts don't have a bye till week 14, so that's
let him rest to the bye. Let him rest to the bye.
I wouldn't be rushing him back. Like, I think all the reports of him, like, possibly playing last week were all just a red herring. Like, I don't think he was even close to playing. Like, and it's a hip injury, and he moves around. Like, give him the extra week. And I'm not just saying that from a fantasy perspective. I'm just saying that for, like, his betterment. Like, the dude can't stay healthy to begin with. Don't be rushing him back.
It's a weird situation, dude.
If Flacco's in, though, start your Colts. Josh Downs is averaging 9 catches a game with Joe Flacco. Michael Pittman, good play. I'd even say consider Alec Pierce for the flex. Like,
you could.
Alec Pierce is like a top 30 wide receiver this year. It's insane.
He had those Trey Sermon. Richardson.
I'd move on from Trey Sermon if he starts. Tennessee's got a pretty good run defense. Running into Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons doesn't sound too appealing for me as a fantasy owner if I would have to start Trey Sermon. If Jonathan Taylor plays, though, I'll start Johnny Taylor, but I don't expect Taylor out there with a high ankle sprain. I expect it to be Sermon, but I really don't want to play him this week.
I don't expect Taylor to play, but I wouldn't move on for Sermon. I get he's not going to have another good rushing game. He went 10 for 38. If he gets a lucky touchdown, it would be great, but he had 6 catches. And I think that's going to be the kind of game this is for the Colts, regardless of if Anthony Richardson plays or not. I think there's going to be a lot of checkdowns because if Anthony Richardson plays, they're going to be blitzing the fucking shit out of him. And he's not going to have time to get these balls to the receivers. It's going to be dink downs to Trey Sermon. He's going to have 6-7 catches, and it could be disgusting. But it's a PPR option, per se.
From Tennessee side, Colts defense is pretty bad, so I'm locked in on Tony Pollard.
You start AD Mitchell?
No, I wouldn't start AD Mitchell.
He almost had 10 points last week.
I don't expect it to be a situation where the Colts are down big like they were against Jacksonville, where they're going to have to pass a ton, and Joe Flacco's passing the ball 45 times again. He
had more catches than Alex Pierce. Just keep that in mind. He had more targets.
Pierce is out there a ton. I think he's better. I think he's a better chance for a touchdown too, Alec Pierce.
I agree touchdown wise, but AD Mitchell's, I guess, startable if you need someone to get points. He got 10 points. If Joe Flacco plays, all these receivers are startable.
I would start Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins over.
Calvin Ridley, sure. Mitchell. Hopkins is a little bit rougher.
Well, you can pass on Indy.
Yeah, you can. I would start Hopkins over a fourth option receiver-wise, sure, but it wouldn't surprise you if AD Mitchell outscores Hopkins.
Oh, no, I could see that, but I would rather Hopkins in my lineup than Mitchell. I think there's a better floor there with Hopkins.
Definitely, yeah. And I agree.
Indy's defense is pretty bad, so Tennessee theoretically should be able to move the ball on them, and I hope that is the case because that does open things up for Indy from a fantasy perspective. But I'm locking in Tony Pollard. I'm locking in Calvin Ridley as a low-end wide receiver too, high-end flex guy. And I think Hopkins is a low-end flex guy this week as well.
Yeah, I think based off matchup, Ridley's a good option. He does pretty good versus matchup-wise. Like the first 2 weeks, he had big weeks. And the last 2 weeks have been horrendous for Ridley. So hopefully he gets a nice bounce-back week. I'm locking in Pollard, though, for sure. It's a green matchup.
How do you feel about Tajay Spears? He's really the only other option in Tennessee offensively worth talking about.
The 2 games before the bye were 10-10 and then 11-9, so both over double digits. He had a touchdown before the bye too. So if you can add in a little bit more receiving work to the rushing game he had before the bye, Spears is definitely startable flex-wise.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's worth starting because look at the teams on bye weeks. Devon Achane. You start that guy, Raheem Mostert, he's back, he's startable. Aaron Jones, Kyron Williams. So a lot of running backs who are like locked in your lineup need to replace it. I think Tajay Spears falls into a startable player this week.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Who are you picking?
Indianapolis if Joe Flacco plays. If not,
I'm taking the Colts regardless, even if Richardson plays. Tampa Bay travels to New Orleans to take on the Saints. The Bucs are 3.5-point road favorites at the time of the recording here.
That's going to skyrocket.
Over under a 41.5. Yes, right before we started recording, Nick messaged me that Derek Carr is going to miss multiple weeks. So, who's starting for the Saints? Is it going to be Jake Haener, or are they starting the rookie? Are they starting Spencer Rattler?
As of right now, Spencer Rattler is leading to start.
Ooh, Spencer Rattler starting the game the same week as Drake May. What a world.
Yep.
Don't like that.
Haener
at all.
Bad when he came in, dude. And I liked Jake Haener coming out, but he was
I didn't watch any of the Monday night game. I was footballed out. It was a long Sunday and a long college football week as well. So I was pretty checked out. I had zero interest in watching the Saints and the Chiefs. So the Saints, no matter who's back there, Haener or
it's Rattler, only bad for the Saints.
I only am starting Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
Maybe Taysom Hill plays.
Exactly. If Taysom Hill plays, Taysom Hill might be startable. But it's just Alvin Kamara. Rashid Shaheed, I think, takes a huge hit, more so than Chris Olave.
I saw his stat line against the Chiefs. He looked another great game, and Olave did
for sure.
Nothing.
Yeah. Like Rashid Shaheed's a legit deep ball receiver. He's balling out this year. Man, without Derek Carr, I think it takes a huge hit. I don't think Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener is going to be able to get him the ball the way he needs to. And that's a goddamn shame, dude. Like, Shaheed's been amazing this year.
Yeah, tough pickings if you had either, because, like, Olave, he's been up and down, but I know Carr doesn't overly target Chris Olave like he should, but, like, maybe one of these guys does, but, like,
I think
they're going to be had targets.
I agree, but I think they're going to be way more targets than he's been getting. Like, I think Rattler or Jake Haener is going to pepper Olave with targets compared to Shaheed. Shaheed's a real big, deep threat. They're not going to have time to get him the ball. Jake Haener was running for his life on Monday, dude. He looked bad.
Yeah, and then it's a shame because the Bucs are a good matchup. They're not great in the secondary, so right now, like, I'm not moving on from Chris Olave. I'm playing him with minimal confidence. Like, I'm going to understand, like, there's a good chance that he has a bad game, but Alvin Kamara should be perfectly fine. He could get his classic, dump off work.
Yeah, I would confidently start Kamara, and then I would still put Shaheed and Olave in as flex guys just to see how it is with the new quarterback, because one of these guys is going to get the ball. I don't know which one it's going to be. I would have to lean Olave over Shaheed just based off the kind of receiver he is. But Dennis Allen obviously does what Dennis Allen does, and he hates Chris Olave, and Derek Carr hates Chris Olave. So I could honestly just see them being Spencer Rattler. If you throw the ball to Chris Olave, you're benched. You got to throw the ball to Shaheed. You got to give the ball to Taysom Hill, brother.
From Tampa,
all of them.
You're starting your guys, yeah.
All of them.
Both running backs, White and Bucky, I think are good plays.
Yep.
Godwin and Mike Evans. I guess Cade Otton falls into that realm of, desperate tight end plays, but he was on the field a ton again. He's like second on the team in targets. Or some shit. It's something insane.
His targets are crazy. But not counting week one. Week one, he played 86% of snaps, which is still really, really good. Week 2, 100%. Week 3, 91. Week 4, 95. Last week, 100%. He's playing over 90% of snaps. Sometimes he's playing every single snap. And again, that's what you want from desperation tight ends. If they're on the field, they have a chance to get a pass. And he's on the field.
Yeah. And he was 4 for 40 last week. Like, if you get this guy a touchdown, he is incredibly fantasy relevant.
For sure.
McMillan and Trey Palmer, have we heard anything on them? I haven't.
McMillan, that was still for last week. No update on McMillan and no update on Trey Palmer.
Okay. Sterling Shepard, then, if they're both out, will be on the field, but I don't see any fantasy relevance. But dude, that I just think makes it better for Chris Godwin and Mike Evans.
I agree. But as a Giants fan, dude, like him having the opportunity to still play, amazing. I love that he's getting the chance to play down there with Baker. Both Oklahoma guys, they played college ball together. And the fact that they're down there balling out half-assed, Sterling Shepard had a touchdown. Dude, it warms my heart, dude. I love both those guys, and to still see them being able to connect like the way they are now, I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
That's what football is good for.
Go get the Bucs defense.
Sure.
They're a good stream defense this week.
Tampa for sure.
Yeah. Ugly game. We got 2 of them in a row here. So let's just go through these 2. The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Las Vegas and take on the Raiders. The Steelers are 3-point favorites and over/under of 36.5. Steelers didn't look great on Sunday. I didn't see the game. Wasn't staying up to watch it because it didn't start till almost 10 p.m. Eastern time, and I worked in the morning.
It was so late, dude. I was dragging ass Monday.
I watched the highlights. It looked like a bad football game.
It was. Until the end. Dallas had a nice touchdown at the end of the game.
I guess Justin Fields is fine.
I guess.
I would start Geno and Brock Purdy and those guys over. I would put him in the same boat as Daniel Jones. I think I'd rather start Daniel Jones just because I think there's a better chance for a shootout.
Oh God, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, sure. Give me Fields over Jones, but same tier.
I had to stick to my start of the week. Najee Harris led the team in receiving yards last week.
It's looking like he's still going to be. It's looking like he's going to be the only running back again. So,
and then Pickens,
bad week.
Keep him in your lineup, but you're not going to be like, I wouldn't actively. I would, if I had better options out there, I would find a way to get him out. Hey, Devontae Adams just jump next door. You don't even have to leave the state. You're going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
He only played on 59% of snaps, which is the seasonal low. Do you think they're purposely trying to phase George Pickens out of this offense in preparation for when Devontae Adams gets to Pittsburgh? Just to get Fields ready, or Wilson per se, because it kind of looks like, well, I was gonna say Russell Wilson's about to be healthy, so if Justin Fields loses this game, hey man, he might lose his job.
Yeah, we might be. They're doing reverse of what I said was going to happen. If that's the case.
Yeah,
because I said Wilson was going to struggle and Fields would come in, and now Fields looked good early on, and now he's struggled here, especially against Dallas last week. But no, I think it was more maybe a matchup thing. Like Trayvon Diggs was on him, and he was just his eye tape. Like George Pickens is an enigma. Like I just think there's going to be games where he's just like Mike Thomas, dude, just get off the field. Like you're pissing me off.
You're a liability some games.
Yeah, and then Las Vegas, it's Brock Bowers,
it's ugly,
and maybe Jacoby Myers. Like keep an eye on him. He was involved, and Trey Tucker, but like I don't want to start either of those guys, but. Just because, like, I just think this game's going to be incredibly low scoring. Like, Brock Bowers is the only, like, must start for me for Vegas. But it also looks like Zamir White is going to miss this game. So, if you're real desperate for a dirty running back play, you can go with Alexander Madison if you want. He had a touchdown, but I don't want to. And Aiden O'Connell should be starting. So, who knows what's going on in Vegas? It's Brock Bowers, and that's it. And then it's Pat Freiermuth and Najee Harris. And then reluctant George Pickens and Justin Fields.
I would be cool with Myers and Tucker just based off the quarterback switch, just to see like one of those guys is going to be the favorite because Adams is not going to play. There's no way this guy suits up for Vegas again. So with O'Connell out there, we got to see who his favorite target's going to be. It's going to be Brock Bowers, but who's going to be the second target? Is it going to be Myers? Is it going to be Tucker?
Yeah.
I would assume
I'd rather
it's
just
Myers.
sit on Myers and Tucker. I'd have
Myers had a good game last week.
Bench in hopes. Yeah, he was getting targeted. I would lean towards him being O'Connell's guy if it's not Brock Bowers.
3 games in a row where he's had 9 or 10 targets, so he's getting a lot of targets.
Picking Pittsburgh here.
I'm going Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Their defense is going to keep them in this game.
Chargers travel to Denver to take on the Broncos. The Chargers are 3-point favorites on the road. The Broncos are hot. Over under of 35.5 points. The defenses, start both defenses. I think they're great starts. The Chargers, I ain't starting a single person on that offense. None. I don't even want to dabble with J.K. Dobbins. If I had to, I guess I would, but I don't want to. Denver, I would rather start Javonte Williams than J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, man. Yeah, PPR-wise, he didn't even break 10 points the last 2 weeks, and they were both red matchups between Pittsburgh and Kansas City, but the bye week, and Denver's really it's a middle-of-the-pack matchup. It's not good. So I would be cool benching J.K. Dobbins, but I would throw him in the flex if I need to. You can cut fucking Gus Edwards, though. Don't even think about putting that guy in your lineup.
Dobbins or Javonte Williams?
Javonte.
On the Denver offense, I think it is just Javonte for me. Cortland Sutton's fine, but I wouldn't be trying to put him in my lineup. Chargers defense has been better this year. And they just don't pass enough. And then Sean Payton, did you see his like a way outdated reference? Like him and Bo Nix got into like a shouting match, and he was just like, Bo Nix he's got a little too much Ferris Bueller in him. Yeah. What?
Any 18-year-old kid was like, what the fuck does that even mean, dude? Like what a crazy reference Sean Payton made, dude. Like I liked it.
I get the reference because I'm old, but you're like, what does that even mean? He's got a little too much Breakfast Club in him, brother.
He's got a little much, fucking Bender in him from Breakfast Club. He's a rebel. Bo Nix, though, dude, he looked really good last week. Like, Bo Nix is, if you're in this system that Bo Nix can thrive, it's only going to keep getting, quote for quote, better. I don't think it's going to ever look phenomenal or perfect.
No. He's never going to be Drew Brees.
No, and he had that nice rushing touchdown. It was very shady of Drew Brees hopping on the 1 yard line. Very Sean Payton-esque calling it.
Took that from Javonte.
Hey, man, Javonte still had like 16 points in PPR. Dude. He had a nice game.
Yeah, he did.
But other than Javonte, though, I'm not looking to start a Bronco guy, especially versus a hardball defense. Not worth it. I'm out.
Yep. I like both defenses here more than any other player on either team.
100%.
Yep. Picking the Chargers, though. Coming off the bye week. Herbert needed it. Hobbled Herbert. He needed the bye. Because Trump loves doing that. He loves I'm throwing in politics, but like Donald Trump loves putting an adjective word that agrees with the same. Like Tony Romo did with the Packers kicker. Nervous Narvison.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he's out here writing Marvel comic books. Any superhero, super villain's name is fucking same letters.
Yeah. They're just asking Trump, who you starting this week? He's like, I got to start Hobbled Herbert. He's my quarterback. And then I got Nervous Nervison at kicker. I'm just doing it. I know fantasy football better than everybody, but I'm picking the Chargers. Hobbled Herbert.
I'm also picking the Chargers.
Yeah. But Denver, though. I'm not buying into them being good, but they're looking much better than I thought they would.
They are a very feasible team with a good defense. Patrick Surtain is the best corner in football. We can lock it into him at this point.
I agree. The Atlanta Falcons travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers. The Falcons are 6-point favorites and over under a 47.5 road game for Atlanta. Kirk Cousins, your start of the week. I like that. I think we can probably lock Drake London in as a wide receiver 1 going forward.
100%. He has looked so good the last couple weeks, dude.
We worry about Wilson and Olave. I don't think we have to have those worries with Drake London anymore.
Nope. Yeah, now with Kirk there, it obviously was a slow start, but now it's rolling, dude. Like Drake London is a lock-in for any type of receiver spot. I'm confidently starting him. I'm confidently starting Bijan, even though he's been ups and downs. But like he's still an RB.
He's got a great floor.
Exactly.
He's got a great floor for a running back. Yep.
Like his low on this finish is still RB 27, and that was just last week where he finished with over 5 a carry. Like he's still a good running back. He's just not getting more involved because they had 500 fucking passing yards last week. You can't have 500 passing yards and 100 rushing yards. This is not how the NFL works. So unfortunately, Bijan's the one that takes the hit sometimes because they're not running. And Kirk, London, Kyle Pitts had a crazy game last week. So there are 2 weeks ago. I don't know when that
baby.
Was. Oh, dude,
Thursday.
Mooney.
Dude. Darnell Mooney is a flex play rest of the year. I would play Darnell Mooney over George Pickens.
Yeah, but there's a chance I would be confident wide receiver 2. Mooney is he's really good, dude. He's getting a lot of targets. Kirk loves him. 2 games over 80 yards, 2 games at 60. And then week one doesn't count. It's a throwaway week for guys, especially new system, new coach. He's new to everything. Mooney's great play for here on out, dude. Yeah.
Mooney and London, I think, London's a lock going forward. You're never going to take him out of your lineup. I think also Mooney's really approaching that.
Atlanta has a really nice playoff schedule for fantasy. They have Minnesota, who on paper is a green matchup, and then they have Vegas, the Giants, Washington, and then if you're playing week 18 for some week, Carolina. So their last 2 weeks are Washington and Carolina. Like all of those guys are going to win you championships. Anyone from Atlanta at this point.
I'd be going out there trying to acquire players from Atlanta. Hit up the Bijan owner. He might be disappointed with how Bijan Robinson's playing. If you can get him, you might be able to get him at an affordable price. Carolina, I'm cool with Deontay Johnson. I'm cool with Chuba Hubbard.
Great. I'm 100% cool with Chuba Hubbard. It's not even questioned at this point. It's been almost 3 straight games with 100 yards. He had 97 last week.
He's on pace for almost 1,500 rushing yards on the season. Yeah, Chuba Hubbard.
He's looked great. Week 1 was, again, a throwaway week for him, but since then, 64 yards, 114, 104, 97. He's been killing it, dude. This is what we thought we were getting with Chuba the beginning of the year, and it's been great, dude.
Yeah. Kyle Pitts, I'm comfortable starting him. I didn't bring him up either because tight ends are bad, but I would start him over both Baltimore guys. I would start him over Njoku. I would start him over Goddard as well. I'm going to pick Atlanta here. How do you feel about Tyler Algier, though? He's been getting more and more snaps. I just think that was a game script thing last week with him playing so much, but it is in the realm of possibility where Tyler Algier is like, he's a good running back. So it's feasible that they continue to try working him in, but I wouldn't be going out there to try to get him. Like, he's out on your waiver. I wouldn't be spending a ton of money. I wouldn't spend any fab on him, honestly.
His high on the season still RB33, so like I'm not looking to acquire Tyler Algier. He's not someone I'm looking for.
You're taking Atlanta here as well?
Yeah, for sure. I was really high on Carolina last week. I thought they could upset the Bears, but they showed me that they are who we thought they are. So.
Xavier Legette, how you feeling about him? I know he's questionable.
I'm not going to start him.
I wouldn't be putting him in my lineup.
He's not going to miss time, but he does have a shoulder injury. He did exit the game last week, but I would be looking to sit Legette this week just to see how it goes. But then at that point, Thielen might be back. So,
yeah. Detroit travels to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Detroit, they're 3-point road favorites, and over under of 52.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another high over-under for a Detroit game that will likely miss it, though the game against Seattle was phenomenal. It hit that big time. This should, on paper, be a shootout. Dallas, you're going to start CeeDee Lamb. You're going to start Dak Prescott. Rico Dowdle, I'm fine starting him. Tough matchup, but they've been getting him involved in the passing game. So a lot of running backs out this week on bye, so I'm comfortable with Dowdle. I like Jalen Tolbert as well for Dallas. And then obviously Big Tolbert. Biscuit, Jake Ferguson. He's a lock in every week, Jake Ferguson.
I like Tolbert a lot, dude. Like I didn't think he'd be this much involved with Cooks out, but he had 10 targets. He played in 89% of snaps, which is a season high. He had 87 yards, a touchdown. He had the game-winning touchdown. Like, this dude's involved. Jake Ferguson obviously started him, like lock him in as a tight end. Tight ends are weak. Ferguson's been great this year. But like pretty much the bigger named guys being Prescott. I'm cool with Dowdle because he's pretty much the backfield at this point for Dallas. Lamb, Tolbert, Ferguson. They have the best kicker in football, Brandon Aubrey. So I'm locking in the Cowboys, dude.
Yeah,
not to win, but all players wise for sure.
I think Jalen Tolbert is essentially just phased Brandon Cooks out of this. Even when Brandon Cooks comes back, I think Jalen Tolbert's going to be the 2 here.
Yep.
And then Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously you're starting him. I like Jared Goff this week. I like him a little bit less than like Geno and Brock Purdy and those guys.
Jared Goff is almost my starter
all in the same tier.
Jared Goff I like Goff.
Both running backs, I think, are in line for a big game.
You didn't even bring up Jamison Williams.
I was getting there. I was getting to Laporta and Williams.
Crazy.
Yeah, I like both running backs and Laporta more than I like Williams this week.
Oh, dude, no way. I'm taking Williams any day of the week over Laporta. His last game, 21 points, 96% of snaps.
I mean, Laporta, though, I was taking position into account there.
I see Jameson Williams as a wide receiver too. Like I would lock Williams in. I love Williams going forward throughout the whole year.
See, I like Williams, but the volatility there. Like I would rather Darnell Mooney rest a season than Jameson Williams. I think Darnell Mooney provides a much better floor, and I think their ceilings are similar.
Oh, man. That's rough. Williams, they both have a dud game. Williams is week 3. Mooney's was week 1. And then Williams had 20 points every game pretty much besides that. Like week 2 versus Tampa, he had 17. I would take Williams.
Okay. I mean, I would be happy with either or.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I'm also picking Detroit to win this game, though.
Yeah, I'm picking Detroit for sure.
Sunday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals travel to New York to take on the Giants, and my start of the week, Daniel Jones, an over-under of 49 points. The Bengals offense looked incredible on Sunday. Joe Burrow was cooking, and then Zach Taylor is a coward and didn't let him cook when it mattered. He tried to settle for a 53-yard field goal to win the game.
I can't believe they lost that game, dude.
I can. Zach Taylor is not a good coach.
If you look at it that way, yes.
Get Cincinnati a legitimate head coach, and this team is a contender. Like, they're a contender with Zach Taylor, but they're in the realms of the upper echelon. But you're starting Joe Burrow, you're starting Jamar Chase, you're starting T. Higgins. Yoshi Voss, I'm not willing to give up on him. I'd keep him stashed on my roster. He's like 5th in the league in separation score this year. He's separating, he's getting down the field. He's a good football player. Eric All's a name to watch. I'm not starting him or rostering him yet, like tight ends. So I'm not that desperate. And then if Zach Moss misses any time, he's got an ankle injury. Chase Brown he's had 2 top 10 running back finishes in a row. That dude is a lock in your lineup if Zach Moss is out. And even if Zach Moss is in, Chase Brown's a great, I think, a low-end RB2 flex guy.
Yeah, I'm cool with Brown regardless of the injury outcome, but it does seem that the reports are coming in that Zach Moss is believed to be okay. The injury is, it was mostly just a scare. He seems to be fine. So I'm still cool starting Chase Brown, even if Moss plays. He's still going to be, I would assume, restricted snap-wise.
I would start Chase Brown over Zach Moss rest of season, I think.
Rest of the season, I would still need to wait, but next week for sure. Well, this week coming up, I would start Brown over Moss.
And then the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson in PPR. I think he's a lock. He's on pace for almost 110 catches this year. Malik Neighbors should be back. You're obviously never taking that guy out of your lineup. Theo Johnson, I think, is a good dart throw. And running game wise, is Devin Singletary playing?
No reports are in yet.
Okay, because if he does play, I think the Giants' backfield is going to start shifting towards a split. I've believed that for the whole offseason. I believe that Tyrone Tracy was going to get more and more involved, and I think after his performance on Sunday, 129 rushing yards, it was the most rushing yards a Giant has had in their first start at running back in franchise history.
Yeah.
Tyrone Tracy. My dude. I love him. I would be looking to getting him stashed on my bench because I think a shift will eventually come where he is on the field as much as Devin Singletary.
Yeah, he looked really explosive. He had 7 a carry last week. If Singletary doesn't play, I would happily start Tyrone Tracy. If Singletary plays, though, I don't want to start either of those guys, to be honest. I don't think either guys are going to get enough work because I think it's actually just going to be a split from here on out, to be honest. I think
it's Tracy provides you receptions.
Oh, yeah, 100%, but I wouldn't start him this week at all if Singletary plays. If Singletary plays, I'm not starting either of the running backs. I think it's going to be, there's a chance we're just down and we're passing. Slayton is also just a name to keep his eye on. I get Neighbors was out last week, but Danny Jones still loves Darius Slayton regardless. He finished with 8 for 122 and a touchdown. He had a crazy week. He's still a really good deep threat, and that's just the kind of receiver he is when Malik Neighbors isn't there. People thought it was going to be Wan'Dale shining, and Wan'Dale had a great game. He had 6 for 38, which is horrendous. But that's still a good Wan'Dale. His game didn't change. It was still the same stat line regardless of Malik there or not. Slayton, though, had a crazy game, dude, and that's how I know we have a good coached offensive team. We lost Malik Neighbors and we lost Devin Singletary, and our offense did not miss any type of beat. Darius Slayton slid right into the Malik Neighbors role, and he had 8 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. That is a Malik Neighbors game. So I'm very happy with our offense going forward.
Jalen Hyatt certainly didn't fall into the Darius Slayton role, though.
Well, no, because that guy's a bum, dude.
Bum. I'm so mad about him. It's him. It's him at this point. I don't think it's not your guy. I think you guys are doing it right. You guys are playing good enough that you're out of the quarterback talk this seain in the offseason. Because the draft class, I'm not fully dove in yet. I've watched a couple games of players, but I think this quarterback class is a sit and wait. I don't think there's a guy who can play week 1 of the NFL season. I think this is a developmental class. All 3 top guys being Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward, and Shadur Sanders. You guys are playing yourselves out of that where you're not going to have to take a quarterback. So you can get either another weapon or shore up that offensive line. You get yourself a right tackle, maybe a De'Riante Ursery from Minnesota, or if you fall into Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell, which is unlikely. And then next year, you guys have a little bit tougher schedule. Maybe you guys suck. You can get Arch Manning. You guys are doing it right.
I agree,
you guys are doing
but
it right. Daniel Jones will be your quarterback next year, and you're going to suck.
I'm in the boat. I would be fine with us, with Danny Jones as our quarterback next year, as long as we draft a quarterback. That's the only way I'm fine with it. I want Cam Ward. I want the Miami kid. I want him to sit a year behind Danny Jones, and then I want him, his second year, to be the Giants starting quarterback with Malik Neighbors, with another weapon drafted because we have a year to sit on him. And then our offense is full firing with Cam Ward, Malik Neighbors, a good offensive line.
See, I think,
and that's what
I think the problem with that is the New York media is going to want that rookie quarterback in immediately if Daniel Jones is there.
Yeah, sucks to suck. We run a football team right. We're not the fucking Jets.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. So I think you guys hold off on a quarterback till the following year.
Eli Manning didn't play his first week. Eli didn't come until like week 8 or 9, and that's what I would want for Cam Ward.
Try to get Arch Manning. Yeah, but the difference was you had Kurt Warner there, not Daniel Jones. Arch Manning to the Giants. I'm calling it now. That's there's my bold prediction for next season.
We'll see about that.
Bengals win this game, though. I don't think you guys have the power to win. But hey, you guys beat Cincinnati or beat Seattle.
I'm picking the Bengals only because the Giants have 2 wins, and it's the 2 times I haven't picked them. So I'm picking the Bengals.
Okay. Finally, Monday Night Football, the Buffalo Bills travel to the New York Jets. The Bills are 2-point favorites on the road, over under 41. The New York Jets fired Robert Saleh.
Wrong move. We'll get to that. But both of these teams are on fucking shaky legs. I don't know what the fuck is going on in Buffalo the last 2 weeks, dude.
How do they let Josh Allen come back in this game? Where's the concussion protocol?
100%.
That dude
someone needs to be
was not
fined.
there. And then Sean McDermott decides to just fucking allow these hokey ass play calls where they're just fucking at the 5-yard line. They're just like, let's throw it 30 yards deep. And Josh Allen was hitting nothing. Like, you could tell that dude was just unconscious.
That's because he's seen 3 Keon Colemans running down the sideline. He didn't know which one to hit. He was literally unconscious, dude.
Josh Allen's a superstar, so I guess he misses out on concussion protocol. Like, I watched them give this dude smelling salt on the sideline. Like, I love Josh Allen. That game, you should have just let Mitch Trubisky come in, take it to overtime instead of risking your franchise. Like, I don't understand it. And Buffalo's going to win this game in my eyes. The Jets are,
I agree,
a shit organization, and they fired the wrong guy. Robert Saleh, like, that defense has been top 10 so much. Like, he's done so much to turn that defense around. Like, he's been blessed ironically, with the worst offense in history. Like, Aaron Rodgers isn't like that. I know they said this was an owner move, but this is partially Aaron Rodgers' involvement, at least in my eyes. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers hates Robert Saleh.
It's because the ownership wants Rodgers, so it's a Rodgers move. That's what makes it a Rodgers move. The ownership want Rodgers. And so they got rid of the guy that Rodgers doesn't like in Robert Saleh, and they fired their own guy. They should be fucking Nathaniel Hackett should have been fucking fired. It's Monday night. Monday morning, he should have been fired.
Hackett should have never had a job.
Well, apparently Salas came out and said that he was going to fire Hackett. That was already been announced. Hackett was going to get fired, and the Jets stepped in and fired Robert Salas. They fired the wrong man, and it's going to show. You just blew up your organization for half a season with Aaron Rodgers. That's all it is. You have this rest of the season with Rodgers, and then he's gone, dude. He's going to retire. He's looked like shit.
Yeah.
The whole Jets have just been rough. The defense is nice, but Breece Hall hasn't been anything near he was drafted to be.
No.
Neither is Garrett Wilson. I don't get me wrong, Garrett Wilson looked great, but
like Braylon Allen has had more juice than Breece Hall this year. Anytime I've watched like the Jets, like Braylon Allen's looked like a better running back than Breece Hall.
Well, I mean, Breece Hall last year, even his yards per carry wasn't anything to rave about. Like, he's a really good PPR option, and he's still a really good running back at the end of the day. But it's looking that he's going to be like a split system kind of guy.
Yeah, and the Jets are they're
horrendous. Garrett Wilson looked amazing last week. How
many
targets did that man have?
22. Like 13.
22
okay. He had 13 catches.
22 targets.
Yeah, he ripped up the minutes. That he's an alpha. Like, use him as an alpha, and it proved here. Like, I mean, I get it. The Vikings were destroying them, that they just had to force those targets. But that's the guy you should be forcing the targets to, not Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard was dropping everything Aaron Rodgers was throwing his way on Sunday. And, like, Mike Williams is fine, but, like, he's Mike Williams. He's not reliable. And Tyler Conklin is, he played, like, the least amount of snaps he's played all season on Sunday. Like, the Jets want to use a bigger front. So, like, Tyler Conklin can't block. So,
yeah,
like, you're going to start Garrett Wilson. You're going to start Breece Hall. That's it. I guess you could throw Tyler Conklin in, but I would rather start a ton of the other tight ends that we talked about over him.
Conklin's still right there, though. He was still 6 for 55 on 9 targets.
I would rather take the shot on Theo Johnson than start Tyler Conklin.
I think Theo Johnson has a higher ceiling. I think Tyler Conklin's a really safe 4. He's a better version of Zach Ertz. That's all he is.
As for the Bills,
Shakir's still day to day.
I expect this to be a huge James Cook game. Sauce Gardner's going to shut down one of the receivers.
The Jets have a really good run defense, though. They're red. They're red on paper.
Yeah, but Aaron Jones was putting in work on him before he got hurt. James Cook's a better version of Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones is good.
Aaron Jones is good. I think James Cook's as good. I think he's a better pass catcher.
You said better. You said better.
I meant in terms of, like, fantasy. He's what Aaron Jones was 4 years ago for the Packers.
Yeah,
Aaron Jones isn't doing that with... He's not as involved in the pass game as he was in Green Bay.
Different offense. You guys fucking... Different offense.
Well, but James Cook is the Bills' offense right now. Like, when he gets going, the Bills' offense is much better.
No, yeah.
So
this is things I talked about all offseason, that Josh Allen is going to be very, very inconsistent this year, just based off he doesn't have options. He doesn't have receivers to throw the ball to. Like, I love Keon Coleman, but Keon Coleman's only Keon Coleman this year. He's still a rookie. He can't run an offense yet. He's not that type of alpha receiver. And Dalton Kincaid hasn't been Dalton Kincaid that we expected. So, like, who the fuck is Josh Allen throwing the ball to?
And they're still using him, which is great to see, but, like, it's just, like, not connecting. Honestly, like, I don't know if Josh Allen's going to go into protocol for concussion.
He's not. It's not going to happen. At this point, that would be them admitting they were wrong, and they're not going to do that.
I wouldn't be playing this guy on Monday. It's the Jets. I think they could win with Mitch Trubisky.
Wow, you're out here benching Josh Allen?
No. I'm saying he's hurt. He's hurt.
Oh, you're saying Buffalo should bench him?
Yes, I'm saying Buffalo should bench him.
I thought you were saying as a fantasy manager, you should bench Josh Allen. And I'm like, that's the hottest take I've heard, dude. What the hell?
The Bills should not play Josh Allen. I worry for him, but you're playing Josh Allen. If Josh Allen's out there, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. You're putting him in your lineup.
I get the whole safety
and maybe
thing.
Maybe this is a get right game for Buffalo. I think it is.
I don't want to come off
all my Bills.
I don't want to sound and be like a anti-concussion guy, but Josh Allen has to be out there this week. It's a division game. You are a game ahead of the Jets. If the Jets beat you, you guys are now the same record. Josh Allen needs to be out there. Trubisky's not going to get the job done versus the Jets defense. And teams coming in on
I think they'd win the game if Trubisky played.
Teams coming in on coaching changes. I get that. Teams coming in on coaching changes play differently, and they usually win. So keep that in mind. Like when the Raiders made the coaching switch last year, the Raiders won. Pierce brought the whole team back. It's something teams play better with assistant coaches.
Yeah, so, but I that's because usually the coach is the problem. I don't think the coach was the problem in New York. I think the problem is the quarterback.
But there is a chance that Robert Saleh was the problem. There's a chance.
Yeah.
Especially offensively.
I don't expect the Jets to win this game. I don't expect the Jets to win this game at all.
Neither do I. But Buffalo's looked like shit the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I think this is a get-right game for Buffalo. I think they do win. But if Khalil Shakir's out there, I'm probably not playing him. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed. But, I mean, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison looked all right against. Well, Justin Jefferson looked great. Jordan Addison had an all right game. They were targeting. I
don't think you can put any of the Bills receivers in any type of category compared to Jordan Addison.
Well, no.
I'm not even going to bring up Justin Jefferson because that's a shame. But Jordan Addison is 30 times the receiver any of these fucking receivers are right now. Jordan Addison's a legitimate NFL receiver. These guys are fine.
Khalil Shakir is really good.
He's fine. He's not really good. He's getting all these stats because he is the Bills' number one receiver. If he was on your guys, he'd be the 3. He would.
Well, but he's most teams, he's probably their wide receiver 2.
I think he'd be the Giants 3. I think Wandale would be over him.
See, I think Khalil Shakir is much better than Wandale Robinson. That dude can do stuff in space. Wandale Robinson cannot.
Disagree. Wandale could do it stuff. He's just not doing it this year.
He I don't think he can. Khalil Shakir's got juice. He can move around. He can also catch a deep pass. That's not Wandale can't do that.
And Wandale's not given the opportunity. He's got 3 deep receivers in front of him, being Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Hyatt. Wandale doesn't go deep.
I just don't think that's in his game. But I think Khalil Shakir can play the deep threat. He can play the down under guy. He can play the middle of the route guy. I think he's a super versatile guy. I think he's a perfect wide receiver 2 for a franchise. I liked Khalil Shakir coming out of Boise State. I think he's got great game.
I think he's a average receiver at best. Okay. I don't think he's anything special. I would take Keon Coleman going forward, to be honest.
I would hold him in the same tier. Completely different players, but
100%.
I think both are capable of being wide receiver 1s, but both are better off being wide receiver 2s.
I don't know, but agree to disagree.
This game, it's just James Cook and Josh Allen for me. I guess Dalton Kincaid, you're not going to bench him, but I do think this is a get right game for Buffalo. I don't think it's.
I'm cool starting Keon Coleman if Shakir doesn't play. He had 14 points last week. I get he only had a catch for a touchdown, but still, I'm cool starting Keon Coleman.
And the Jets, it's Breece Hall and
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Conklin as a tight end option.
Yeah. Both defenses. I would start Buffalo's defense. I mean, I guess the Jets defense is fine too, but I think Buffalo is more susceptible to score a bunch of points than the Jets could. But Buffalo's defense has been low key really good this year.
Mm-hmm. Buffalo always has a good defense. The last 5 or 6 years, they finished as a defense 1 in fantasy. So that's what Buffalo does.
Yeah. That's week 6. Power rankings.
Oh, I don't have anything in front of me. That's insane.
Okay. Well, then I was gonna say it was just the top 5.
Off the top of my head, it would be Kansas City, Minnesota.
Both will continue to be undefeated next week.
Yep. Detroit would be 3, Houston 4, Washington 5.
So you're moving Baltimore out of your top 5 despite the win?
I moved Buffalo out of my top 5.
Okay, but Baltimore's in your top 5 last week.
I also yes. I would put Washington over Baltimore. Okay. They've looked way better offensively.
Mine would be Kansas City still 1, Detroit still 2, Minnesota 3, Baltimore 4. I would bump Buffalo out for the Commanders at 5.
No, Houston.
Houston would be 6 still.
Houston, Green Bay, a lot of good teams.
Yeah. I think those would be the top 7
though, good
for sure.
Teams.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Podcast in the books. It's a long one.
It is. One was only one this week, so they got to deal with it.
Just one. So, yep. We got them in. So you won't see us on Thursday. This will be out normal time. So you'll see us next week. We'll be back to twice a week, most likely. Yep. I don't think we have anything lined up. So
pretty good. My birthday.
There we go.
My birthday.
Yeah. Enjoy week 6, guys. It should be a good one. Follow us over on Twitter. I don't care if you do Twitter. That's just a habit of saying I'm not overly active over there. But the more important one is like, rate, subscribe, follow, review, all that good stuff on the platforms, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and then, word of mouth. Tell some people, get the word out there. Hey guys, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us as always here on the Drafted Up podcast. Ta-ta for now.
Bye.